do it. Yeah. We won't go any longer than an hour tops.
Yeah, I've got about an hour and that's it.
Yeah.
On those questions, so probably the best thing to do is let me see if I can pull up on my email here real quick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to say have you just ask me what the questions were. But
I can read them to you if you want.
Yeah, maybe that might be easier because I'll sit here and fucking read them and.
Yeah, I'll read it to you.
Yeah, I don't even see them right now. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So let's just we'll just make it that.
Yeah. There's 21. So I mean, we could be.
Some of those questions I'll probably be able to combine them or answer those at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what most of these abbreviations mean, but okay. Question for Dale. What is his thoughts on how the DoD is increasingly orienting itself towards being SOF centric in most of their combat operations? I don't know.
So here's my thoughts, right? Being a soft unit SF, it's sexy, but I think what's happening is, you got people out there, commanders out there that think that, let's just make everybody special forces. But the reality is, you hear me okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was just checking.
Yeah, so the reality is, special forces, everybody can't be special forces. They seem to think like, we'll just make everybody now special forces. We'll make you special. When actually being in special forces is not about the gear and the mission as much as it's about the individual in it, right? You got to have certain qualities and characteristics for guys to be, special forces, whether Green Berets or whatever the hell they are. And I hate to use the word operator because, that term's been hijacked. So originally, operator goes way back. There's an operator and operative, right? So in Delta Force, originally what happened was we were called Delta Force operators for a reason, because we actually, as an operator, you were a soldier, okay, and you dressed like a soldier, you did everything a soldier does, you fell under UCMJ. Then two, you also worked for other government agencies, right? And under the guise of working for them, you credentialed through them. So when you're working for them, you're not necessarily U.S. Army anymore. And the third one was we were also required to work, in the guise of a civilian, right? Unaffiliated with the government, right? So you were kind of like this Jason Bourne MacGyver guy. You wore different hats all the time. So what do we call a guy like that? We call him an operator, right? And that's how the term came. Not only that, there are issues with promotions, right? So if, for example, if I'm an 18 Bravo, 18 Zulu, Green Beret, and I'm in Delta Force, okay, when my records go in front of the promotion board, okay, who am I competing against? Okay, I'm competing against other Green Berets, but how can I compete against them when we have different jobs, different missions? They're doing their Green Beret thing. I'm doing the Delta Force thing, right? So they had to distinguish the Delta Force operator from everybody else. And so we were evaluated differently, et cetera, et cetera. And so I guess it's kind of a sexy name because then now everybody calls themselves, I've even heard cops call themselves SWAT operators, Marine operators, everybody's an operator now, a special forces operator, look, if you're a Green Beret, you're just a Green Beret. If you're a SEAL, you're a SEAL, if you're a Marine, you're a Marine, Ranger, you're a Ranger, if you're a paratrooper, you're a paratrooper, you're not a paratrooper operator. But everybody wants the cool name, but they don't want to do the hard work to get or to earn it, right? It's just like the Green Beret. You want a Green Beret? Go earn the damn thing,
Yeah.
And anyway, so what do I think about it? To answer your question, Special Forces has its place. Special Forces is a force multiplier. The reality is this. I think Special Forces are more effective than conventional units, especially today. All we have to do is look at, the war with the Russians in Afghanistan, the Mujahideen, wearing sandals and AK-47s beat back, a conventional Russian army, Actually, when you look at Afghanistan today, how long have we been there? And we're still fighting the Taliban. Why? We're trying to fight them with a conventional army, and we're trying to fight unconventional dudes when we should be doing exactly what they're doing. We should be using guerrilla warfare to fight these guys. And every time I brought it up when I was over there, I was told, basically, we don't. For example, I remember writing basically a white paper saying, look, we need to we need to start building VBIDs. We need to start parking them out in front of the compounds of these guys that we know are terrorists. We need to start doing the same thing they're doing to us. And, they came back, we're not in the business of building VBIDs, and basically kind of like said, we're not like the enemy in a bad way, and I'm like, so I wrote back to it, I'm sorry, did I call it a VBID? What I meant to call it was a wheel explosive delivery system. Does that sound better?
Yeah.
Right. So, they got this mindset, man, in our military, our government, they just can't get their head around, any of this crap. They try to run like a business, and they want to be politically correct, right? Everybody's got to be an operator. Everybody's got to have a beret. We don't do VBIDs, and that's why, even now we're still in Afghanistan fighting guys we should have dusted a long time ago. Yeah. And so the key to me, the special forces is the way to go. They're a force multiplier. Look, you can do a 12-man ODA Special Forces A team can do anything a freaking battalion can do. You give me some radios and some air support, some artillery support, I can take a 12-man ODA and hand a division its ass, and so I don't have to waste a whole lot of soldiers fighting, that's kind of going, with technology the way it is today. I don't see, much use for conventional armies anymore, large numbers of soldiers. I think the way to go now is the surgical stuff, surgical warfare. Why not? The technology supports it. All we have to do is adapt our tactics to the technology, and we can win. So, but trying to turn all conventional forces and make them special forces, guys, that's a mistake, because it just doesn't work that way. Because it's not about the gear. It's not about the uniform. It's not about the beret. It's not about the term operator. It's actually about the heart and soul of the soldier. That particular soldier. It's different. So that's the only thing I have to say on that, I guess.
Beautiful.
Next question.
Beautiful. Next question. Yeah. I think you kind of just said this. Do you think that you can win a large-scale conflict with a small footprint of SOF and enablers? That's what you just said. Yeah, hand a battalion its ass.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
How would you counter the argument that SOF, when operating in a vacuum away from a large supporter conventional force, is unable to achieve long-term strategic and political effects?
That's kind of one of those. That's one of those 1,000-foot elevation type questions. Yeah. I think I still think that even with a small unit, you can have the same effect, the same psychological effect, the same sphere of influence with a smaller unit, because of what I said earlier. It's a force multiplier. You use technology, you just use different means to basically expand yourself, expand your capabilities without actually expanding your numbers. So for example, psychological warfare, using psyops campaigns, is a form of force multiplication, because what we're trying to do is affect the mindset of the not only the opposition but also of the populace, right? It's like politics, trying to sway people's ways of thinking, make the bad guys think we're going to do certain things, and then every now and then reminding them that we can do certain things, like the drone strike, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think again the way of these large conventional warfare and occupation is going the way of the dinosaur. I don't think it's necessary anymore. As long as we have, and we keep improving our technology, man. Goddamn, we're using drones now. One day you're going to see fighter jets without pilots in it.
Very soon.
Soon. We're going to be fighting wars from space, with lasers and stuff like that. So, we have to adapt. We have to be forward thinking and have to think way outside the box. And not saying that there will never be a time for convention. There might be times for conventional forces for certain things, but the way the world's advancing, all the countries are advancing. They're all catching up to us, and the day's going to come where we throw in a large amount of men or occupying a large amount of an area with a large amount of forces is probably no longer be tenable or feasible.
Number 4. Do you have any tips for young players on pushing through selection? Curious, as I'm a combat engineer in the ADF, looking at going back to selection within the next 2 years. Just any tips?
Yeah, actually, I've got a lot of tips.
Yeah.
One is never quit.
Yeah.
That's easier said than done, I guess. And then Two is, preparing yourself. The little adage, prior planning prevents piss poor performance is definitely an effect here. I've seen guys go to selection and think they're just thought they were in good enough shape already because they did, unit PT every morning, and they'll just gut it through, and it turns out it wasn't. It was easy as they thought. You have to prepare for something like that because it's not only physically hard, it's mentally hard. And what happens is when your body breaks down, your mind breaks down. If you have a weak mind, it doesn't matter how strong your body is, you're not going to make it. And if you have a weak body, you have a strong mind, you could probably still work your way through it, but, probably at a huge price. I have a friend of mine that he made it all the way through selection with 2 broken legs, literally broke his legs from the outset. Made it through selection, got selected, but couldn't go to the unit. He spent a year in convalescent leave. He had to go to Texas to get metal rods, same kind they put in racehorses for broken legs. He basically had to go to a veterinarian and get rods installed in his shins before he came back. So he made it back. He's a good operator, but there's you got to be smart. So interestingly, I'm gonna. So I do performance coaching, among other things, with Joe Tedeye from Dual Survival on the Discovery Channel. And one of the things I promote, and I've already done this, is I have a train-out program for selection, okay? And so I don't give it away. It's actually something that's been out for about 5 years now. And it's basically my train-out program to prepare me for selection that includes what I've done since that time is I've added what would I do today differently than I did back then to make it myself even more effective. So I've added a lot of other things like nutrition, diet, certain supplements, etc., to bolster that my capability. So I actually have that, and it's called Soft PT, and it's the entire program from beginning to end. Train up every day. This is what it should look like. These are your objectives. These are goals. So basically, it's it basically answers all your questions. How should I train for this, and what can I do to train for it? I'll give you my training program, and if it means anything, when I went through selection, there was 110 guys that tried out. 6 finished, and 3 of us were selected. So I have 110. Okay, that happens twice a year, 2 selection courses. And I was the youngest guy at the time, age 23, to make it through the unit, to make it through selection, and out of the 82nd. Okay, I was just a grunt. I didn't have any special forces background, Ranger background, only been in the Army for 4 years, and I pulled it off. So why did I pull it off? Because I trained for it. I knew what I was up against, and and so I created a program for it to get me through it. And so, I do offer that. You can basically hit me up on, there's a couple of ways to find me, but one is our website, Tier 1 Performance Coaching. We have a website. We also have a Facebook page, or you can email me at dale@tier1performancecoaching.com. And, I have that available. So
yeah, I'll link that to him.
Yeah. If guys want to go through selection, if they're looking at, what can they do to better themselves, prepare themselves? I run an entire curriculum on that, not just the physical fitness part, but the mindset piece of it that goes along with it, which will increase your chances of success 1,000% for sure.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'll link that to him.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of thing. How do you get chosen to go through selection for the Delta Force? I feel like it's kind of, I guess, well, I don't know. How do you get chosen for selection? So you just talked about how to get through selection.
Yeah.
Do you get chosen, or does it just happen?
Yeah, to get selected, here's what's got to happen. First of all, you have to meet the minimum standards. They know what the minimum standards are. They canvass all the military records, and they look for guys. You have to have a GT score of at least 110. No UCMJ action ever against you. No judicial punishment. You have to have a minimum rank, I believe, E5, minimum age of 22. There's a bunch of prerequisites, and so if you meet all those, then you can actually apply to try out. And actually, the application process is lengthy as well. It includes background checks, includes PT tests, it includes psychological evaluations. So there's quite a bit that goes into that as well. Just that's before you even get selected, right? And if you pass all that stuff, then you get to go. You get to come to assessment selection, right? So then you go through the next round, which is the physical part, which you go through the selection process, and so that's several weeks, and it's very physical, and again, it's limited information, and basically, you're on the same plane as everybody else because the way you're evaluated, everybody has the same. You're trained in the same area, right? So everybody has a fair chance, right? Just because you're a Green Beret and the other guys, infantry, doesn't mean the infantry guys, disadvantaged. You're gonna have it's gonna be a level playing field, and basically they're gonna evaluate your heart and your soul. Is what it's gonna come down to, and your ability to cope, et cetera, with the unknown, and really kind of cope with yourself, man, because you're gonna learn a lot about who you are and who you're not. And then if you make it through just through that piece alone, the selection, then you got to go through the board, commander's board. You got to go through a psychological evaluation again. And then if you make it through all that, then you get to go through the operator training course, which is at least another 6 months. And even that's an evaluation, right? You're graded and evaluated throughout that thing. Then you go through another commander's board, another psychological evaluation. And then if you're lucky, you get to walk across the hall, as we call it. And when you arrive to the squadron, your sergeant major, like mine, he told me, "Congratulations for making it this far. Delta's a continuous process. If you don't put out 110% every day, we don't need you." So so selection's never over, but you have to start somewhere. So if you're interested, you need to look up the SFODD recruiter. And usually they're traveling around and they're doing their interviews and stuff like that. And usually if you already meet the prerequisites, they'll send you a letter telling you so. So it's a lengthy process, but if you want it bad enough, you'll stay the course, man, and do what you got to do to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, and you can become, shout out Dale Comstock, read American Badass. I'll link that too. You can read the badass story. You got to do all that before you can become the American Badass.
That's right. That's right.
So this one's a lengthy question. What does Dale Comstock think about the al-Baghdadi raid? You don't have to mention this, but from the tactics standpoint, tactical call out, direct assault, MWD/CAD/K9, semi-contained suicide vest explosion in Baghdadi's work-in-progress escape tunnel. Just generally, what does Dale think about that raid? Does it make him proud? What does he think about the surround, contain, and call-out tactics? All around, what are his thoughts on the Baghdadi raid?
Well,
if you need me to read it back.
Yeah, no, I get it all. And so the thing that kind of jumps out at me is the call-out tactics. I've seen that done before, and I personally don't support it for a lot of reasons, but namely because once you surround a compound and you basically say, "Hey, you come out with your hands up," and what if they don't come out? Now you've already given them a tactical advantage. You've given them the opportunity to dig in, read their IEDs, whatever the hell they got prepared for, So I'm a speed, surprise, violence of action guy. That was always the fundamentals of CQB. I remember going out in 2003 with one of the special forces teams at the compound I was at, and they weren't allowed to. They were only allowed to do soft knocks during the daytime. In other words, they had to go to the compound, knock on a door, say, "Excuse me, Mr. Badman, we're here to come and get you. Would you please come outside and please don't start a fight?" That type of shit. And I thought, man, how stupid is that? Because one, what if they don't come out? Two, what if they go, they score out, they go through their tunnels or whatever, man, right? I just thought it was a bad idea. But I wasn't limited to any of that because of who I worked for and the things I had to do. So I was like, they asked me if I would come along and participate with my guys to help them. And so what I would do is I always explosively breached. You know what? When I knock on your door, it's going to sound like 10 pounds of C4, and if you're standing on the other side waiting for me, you're going to eat a door on the way as I come to the door, So that was my philosophy. If I got to come and get you, you're already an asshole, and, whatever you get,
Yeah.
And so, you have to weigh it all out. We can say, "Oh, but what about the poor babies and the children?" Well, God, what about my babies and my children, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to come back and see them as well. So, we can talk this all day long, and I hate the bleeding hearts, the liberals, and, we got to be nice to the bad man, and he might be nice to us. It's bullshit, right? To me, people die because of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a fan of the call out, never have been. I don't see a tactical advantage to it. I think you're setting yourself up for bigger failures. And, what if the bad guys are smart. and they learned their RTTPs really fast, man. And guys were getting killed in Iraq because they figured out how we were entering rooms and doing CQB. So they were preparing for it, and so, we have to keep changing our tactics. Every time we change their tactics, they change their tactics. It's tit for tat. To me, call-outs are a bad idea, but the braid, yeah, great. I didn't expect any less. The unit's always been very successful at its raid. They've done more raids than you'll ever know. The SEALs talk about how great they are. They can't even walk in the shadows of Delta, not even close.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between the quiet professionals and the loudmouths. And I say that, and I don't care. You might piss some people off out there if you're a SEAL fan, but the reality is the reality. SEAL Team 6 got its beginnings from Delta. Delta's the one that went over there, trained them, gave them the TOE, and got them their startup. And the reality is there's a lot of missions that SEALs did not get, and basically were sidelined because it always went to Delta. So without getting all that crap, Don't get me wrong. I like SEAL. I got a lot of SEAL friends, but I got to call it the way I see it.
Fuck yeah.
So tactics wise, I thought the unit did great, but I wouldn't expect anything less. They're never going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. Units make mistakes. Intel's wrong. Things change on the ground. But, this goes to my point about earlier about, with Delta operator being special forces, it's not about the equipment. It's, in the uniform and the beret and the title operator, it's about the man. Can he think fast enough? Can he adapt to the situation? There's a saying about Delta operators, Delta operators aren't necessarily the best guys, but they're the right guys. Okay. So that's what's important, right? And what does that mean? The right guy that can think, can act unilaterally, can work as a team, but can think his way through, challenges and come out on the other and prevail and never quit. Gonna win one way or another, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Number 8. Another question. And this guy asked a couple questions, so I'll come back to those to make sure we get the other ones. Which unit did you enjoy your time with the most and why? Thank you for the interview, Mr. Comstock.
What was that? What?
Which unit did you enjoy your time with the most and why? Thank you for the interview, Mr. Comstock.
I enjoyed my time with Delta, but I also enjoyed my time with 3rd Special Forces Group. I had an A-team there. And the reason I liked my A-team is because in Special Forces, we didn't get all the cool gear and all the equipment and all the money that we had in Delta. Delta was a Tier 1 unit. Tier 1 means we were always in a state of war, even in peacetime, so we were funded as such. So we had we had endless amounts of money, and got to do a lot of cool training and equipment, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Special Forces, not so much. So when I got to a Special Forces team, my guys didn't have as many opportunities to train in certain things and be as good as a Delta guy. But I was able to impart my knowledge on them and train them on a lot of different things that they normally wouldn't have gotten. And the other thing I liked about Special Forces, Green Berets, is by far I think they are the best Special Forces unit, bar none, because they are so diverse. You have a 12-man ODA. You've got communications guys. You've got weapons guys. You've got medics. You've got engineers. You've got a warrant officer. You've got an intel sergeant. We speak foreign languages. We have multiple missions. In fact, my team, my Special Forces A team, I was a water infiltration team. I had the first ground mobility vehicles, the desert mobility vehicles that I've set up. We were a rucksack team. We were also a permissive Halo team. So, we jumped Halo operations. So we had about 5 different missions that we did alone just on my team. And we were a Portuguese speaking team with our area of operations being Iraq and Angola. Which, how cool is that? We go to Portugal all the time just to learn the Portuguese language. So, but a Special Forces A team has to have a lot of skills to be very proficient in them. The commo guy, which my son, by the way, he's a Green Beret. He's also a communications guy. He got to know a lot of radios, digital radios, satellite radios, UHF, everything, man. He's got to be a radio guru. The medics, by far the best medics in the world. These guys are trained to do everything from, veterinary care to, dental work to delivering babies, you name it, the engineers, they're doing, they build stuff, they blow stuff up, so everybody has has a lot of training, a lot of, education in their MOS far beyond what most guys will get, like in a SEAL unit or, Delta or Rangers, things like that. So to me, I think the Green Berets are by far the most diverse, probably the best trained special forces out there, bar none.
Oh, yeah.
So,
hell yeah. How has CQB changed over your time in SOF? What would you say was the most significant of these changes?
We in the early days we used to train on points of domination, basically running the walls, right? Picking out points of domination in the corners, and sectoring off the rooms. Well, what we found out was, we trained on that all the time. And then when we started deploying for real in combat, we started realizing that, it's not so easy to run the walls in a room from one corner to the other corner because you got things like, furniture, tables. I've even had to run over cows and goats standing in the daggone house in my way, right? So it doesn't work. So, everybody started going to strong wall. Just basically strong wall and one wall. And then I started realizing that doesn't always work either. A lot of times teams just end up in the doorway, kind of doing a kind of a blossoming effect, guns in all directions, and clearing the room from the doorway as they're trying to inch their ways in. And then you have, the next technique where guys were pieing off the room, from the outside, clearing as much as they could from the outside, and then entering the room. So, the techniques keep evolving and keep changing. But regardless of the technique you use, I think, some things are just fundamental that you can't get away with, and that's speed, surprise, violence of action. I've added one more. Nobody else uses it. I do, but it's called momentum. Once you get that train gets to rolling, man, you keep it rolling. And, never let a guy in a room by himself. You got to flood the room with as many guns as you can at one time. And basically just, overwhelm the adversary with speed, surprise and violence of action, man, and just keep running him down and impose your will until you're done with that room, and then you go into the next one. So, it's evolutionary, but we've learned a lot over the years, and every time we change techniques, the bad guys adapt, which causes us to change our techniques again.
Yeah, this one's not really a question. I can't imagine anything more fucking terrifying than Dale bursting through a door. That wasn't a question. That was just a comment. Agreed.
So here's a funny story, right? So I go busting through his room in Iraq one time. So I like to be the first guy in, man. I always, even with my Iraqis and my Afghanis, I just love taking the point, going through the doorway the first time, being the first one through. And I remember busting through his bedroom door, and freaking guy didn't even know we were coming, man. And he's on his bed with his girl, and he's knocking it out, man. I mean, he's putting it on, I'm busting it in there. And you think he would, get off the damn bed and get off of her, maybe grab a gun or at least, holster his other gun in his underwear. But he didn't. And so I remember I'm just standing there with the rest of the team looking at this guy, and he's looking at me like, hey, come on, finish,
Come on, bro.
Jamming my rifle, my HK-16 into his forehead, get the hell off of her now, I'll let the air out of you. Actually, I wanted him to get up so I could take a look at her real quick.
Yeah.
She curled up and jumped in the corner, and he had money and guns laying all over the place. He was an asshole. He killed a lot of Americans, actually.
Yeah.
I should have shot him, but
fuck that guy.
Of course I couldn't. But yeah, so he was a little surprised, but not surprised. He wanted to keep on. He's like, hey, let me get my last shot off.
Come on, bro.
We get to do this again.
Yeah, I'm going to I'm going to Guantanamo Bay. Come on, dude. No, you're going to get plenty of action there. It's just going to be from your cellmates. Okay, yeah, we went through that. What are some of the biggest weaknesses you have experienced with limited penetration? Can you name a situation where you had to go dynamic? Thank you for doing this, Mr. Comstock.
I'm not sure what you mean by limited penetration, other than, I guess, turning the doorknob and trying to push my way in, or maybe using a ram or something like that, or maybe ballistic breaching with a shotgun. I'm like this. If I know the bad guys are on the other side, I'm gonna go dynamic every time. why risk it, right? Unless, it's a room with, one bad guy and I know there's 20 little kids in there, then, we might have to reconsider that. But that's rarely the case. And usually when, you do something like that, when you go hit a target, usually your intel is good enough that you know what to expect on the other side. For example, a lot of the raids that I used to do was, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And we'd watch the target for a while. Everybody's sound asleep. There's no activity, and so we had a pretty good idea that, okay, there's nobody in the living room, in the front door, the back door, and that window, that we have to really worry about. But we're still gonna try to get that shock and surprise, right? That explosion. You know what it's like to get woken up in the middle of the night when a freaking door charge goes off in your house, It takes you a second to kind of get reoriented, and that's what I need. I need to get you, let you reorient while you're doing that. I'm letting the air out of you. So, but never say never. Sometimes, most of my breaches are explosive. Now I've shotgun breached. The reason I don't like shotgun breaching that much is because you're standing in front of the door with a shotgun, and when the door opens up, you might be in a gunfight with several other people. All you got is a shotgun, and now you're trying to transition to a handgun or trying to get your carbine around, or you're trying to get out of the door so everybody else can get in. It's just kind of complicated, man. I believe in positive entry, and I've seen where the charges that did not go off, or there was not enough ass in the charge, or the shotguns just wasn't getting the job done. So now you spend more time out there trying to reset and try to get through that door. And the longer you're sitting out in front of that fatal funnel, man, more things can go wrong, and you give the guy on the inside more time to get up his nerve to, to hose you as you're coming through.
Let's see. Yeah. So, how does Dale think the unit's CQB has changed after some of the bigger operations in Panama and Somalia, and how they come up with the free flow style of QCB, and who influenced CQB, and who influenced their CQB tactics the most?
Actually, the unit, man, the unit has always been. What's the word I'm looking for? They've pioneered CQB. What you see today in the way of CQB has its origin from the unit, man. Okay. That's all we did was study what's the best way to clear a room. We'd create all kinds of scenarios with people in it. What if this, what if that? And we thought it through. It was like, well, what has the best chance for success, right? So, the whole idea of running the points of domination, the whole idea was, the first guy, the number one guy, he's running the corners, he's running long, and everybody's hopefully watching him and drawing down on him, going to shoot him. While they're doing that, the number two guy's coming through, and he's popping to everybody else, And so, a lot of thought went into this, and it's just like coming up with, plays for a football team, and of course, Iraq changed a lot of things. Because the bad guys were getting smarter. They knew what the unit was doing, and then so they started countering it. So that required other things like breaching with a goddamn tank, first, and then going in.
Yeah.
So a lot of things had to change, but and they're always evolving, man, and. In every situation, in every war, things are going to be a little bit different. So. It depends on a lot of things like structures of the buildings, what you might encounter in that environment. But ultimately the unit, like I said, this is what they do, man. This is what they're really good at. And they study it, they plan it, they study it, and they adapt. It's when I say, free flow, is it free flow? It's kind of free flow to a point, but it's actually, it's also organized free flow. There's a process to it, and the single most important piece of that process is the man on that team. Okay, control. And so, for example, you would think, we got to have a good team leader. Team leader's controlling everything. As long as you got a good team leader, you can flow properly. Blah 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 blah. Actually, it doesn't come down to the team leader. We would like to think it's the team leader's in charge. Actually, it's always the number one guy that's going to go through the door, whether he's going in the room or going out of the door. That's making that call. What's the best call? For example, when a root team goes into a room, I always tell the number 3 or number 4 guy, the guy closest standing to the door, he's now in charge. Why? Because he has the best view of the room. He also knows what's out in the hallway, which direction they're going. So basically, he's controlling the room, and now he's going to control the direction of flow, right? So it's not necessarily the team leader. It could be the lowest guy on the team, right? So that requires every man on the team to be able to think like a team leader, understand their tactics, techniques, procedures, and be able to take charge of that team and run that operation from that to the next room or that next building. That is the difference between conventional and unconventional. That is why you just can't take regular Army guys and slap a Green Beret on them and call them an operator and give them a cool gun and think they can do the same operations and the same missions as a Delta Force operator, for example. Ain't going to happen, because it always comes down to the man. And that's why the selection is so stringent, right? As I said a little while ago, they don't pick the best man, they pick the right man. Okay? We need thinkers. In fact, they always tell us in OTC, we need thinkers who are shooters, not shooters who can think sometimes. We need thinkers who are just shooters, right? And that's the key. That's the key difference, and that's why the selection process is so difficult, so stringent. There's a psychological evaluation. There's a lot that goes into this thing because the stresses and the pressures you're going to be placed under, either unilaterally or as a team, are huge. They're probably the most tremendous situations and pressures you could ever find yourself in. And if you can't operate in that, if you're going to fold, if you're going to whip out or whatever, you can cost a lot of people their lives plus the mission.
Hell yeah. You're a walking encyclopedia. You got everything. What are Dale's thoughts on elite tactical LE units like the HRT, I guess, Hostage Rescue Team? Have they known any individuals in their time with OGA that had a background like that, and how did they adapt to military and paramilitary operations? It's kind of a three-part question.
Yeah, so like with HRT, I've worked with them before. The difference with HRT is they have a different criteria for selection. So they tend to be, our FBI guys are all college graduates, tend to be officers or former officers in the military, and basically their real bread and butter was being FBI agents, right? Investigators, blah, blah, blah. And now they're going to be a hostage rescue team. I'm not going to say they're bad. When I was working with them, they weren't great. They got a lot of their training from us. Again, they adapted a lot of our weapon systems, things like that, and tactics and techniques and procedures. But it always comes back to the man. That's what it comes back to. And even there, I don't care if you are, no disrespect to my FBI agent friends out there, but it really, there are good ones out there, but as a collective, man, you've all got to be pretty much on the same level. You're only as good as the weakest guys on your team. And, HRT, okay, they're good. They're good for what they do. Are they on the same level as Delta? No. Or SEAL Team 6? Absolutely not. Are they good for what they do statewide? Yes. They're getting better. They're getting smarter. But my experience is that they were still learning when I was working with them. And where they are today, I don't know. I'd be speaking out of turn. I don't know. But, here's what you got to remember this. They're used for CONUS operations, right? You have some kind of a hostage rescue, a big scenario with terrorists here in the United States. That's where they're going to get called in. However, the reality of the fact is, and I already know this for a fact, and I won't say why I know this, but the reality is if it's something big enough, they're going to call in the unit. They're going to call in Delta. They're going to call in the big guns, the big boys to do it, just because of the number of assets that we have, the capabilities, the experience, the real combat experience. I mean, years and years of real combat experience. They're going to go, you know what? Let's push you guys aside for now. We'll make you guys containment or something else for now. Let's bring these guys, and we have to guarantee that we're going to save a lot of lives and not screw this up because little ego things going on here. So, or it might be, a joint operation. I don't know. But everybody's got their responsibility. The Delta unit is overseas. Obviously, FBI is CONUS, but that doesn't mean the unit can't work in CONUS. When they wait posse comitatus, so very possible. Very likely.
If shit went down at like the White House or the Capitol, they're going to be flying in Delta. They're not going to fuck around, and no one's gonna protest to that. And if they do, they're fucking communists. So, in regards to his former profession, Can Dale comment at all on the growth that their former OGA unit, Ground Branch, underwent during the global war on terror? More importantly, what does the future look like? Will they be the most active of all units moving forward as the wars draw down? And I commented when I posted this that you don't comment on anything with OGA, so I'm not sure if you want to just skip that question.
I'll just say what I know that I can say. So from those guys they're not just, there's no OGA Ground Branch school that you go through and I'm a GP, or like I'm a Delta Force guy, or or a SEAL. It's basically guys come in from different backgrounds, right? And it, like anything else, certain skill sets are require some more desirable, not just skill sets, but also it always comes back to the man. Okay, it always comes back down to the man. The agency, just like the Special Forces and Delta, they have very extensive background investigations, polygraph tests. So there's a lot of hurdles you got to get through just to be there. They're not necessarily looking for the best man; they're looking for the right man, right? And so, we used to always, So when I was in the Army, I used to always think, man, Delta's like the final frontier. If I can get to Special Forces and Delta's, like, man, I'm on the top. And then I heard about this other place called Ground Branch. And really,
yeah,
what? Okay, there's another place, right? And actually, that's not even the pinnacle. To me, the pinnacle has always been. You know what? You can go to war with Delta and have, helicopters and medics and all kinds of cool assets behind you to, pull your ass out of a jam if you need it. You can go to CIA and they'll have tons of money and buy your way out of shit, or they'll bring in the military to bail you out. I said, but what would it be like to be on the ground by yourself, mano a mano, with the same shit the bad guy has, no backup, no big military behind you, no money, no way out. It's just you and him. Be a mercenary. That was the ultimate frontier. I've been there and done that. I've been on the battlefield with three other Americans and an Arab, fighting it out with thousands of Al Qaeda, and it was just me and them. Whatever I had an old Chinese Chicom AK-47, 30 years old. Like them. I'm wearing bandanas and freaking. I had no assets, no air support, no medical support. If I got shot, then I got shot, and that's probably where I'm going to lay and die.
Yeah.
But to me, that was like the ultimate, and it was legitimate. These were legitimate missions. It wasn't like going out there, let me see how cool I am.
Yeah.
I actually worked for foreign governments, in furtherance of their global war on terrorism. And they brought me, and in this particular case, 10 other guys, 7 of them for Legionnaires. And our job was to come in and give them a special force capability and do strike missions for them because they didn't have the capability. And so to me, that was the ultimate, because now I got to really test my soldier skills, my real drive and my real heart, because I knew I'm out there all alone. There's no backup coming. There's no helicopters coming. There's no air support. If I get shot, I'm not going to a JMOW and get patched up. If I do get rolled up, there's nobody coming to rescue me. If I get killed on the street, then they're probably just going to chop my head off and leave me laying in the garbage somewhere, and nobody will know I was there. That's when you really see what you're made of. That's when you really test your skills. To me, that's the ultimate. I can't think of anything else other than maybe fighting aliens.
Yeah,
if aliens come down, I'd like to fight them too.
Yeah.
Test myself out against them. What else is there, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that would have to. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because I had always thought it was like, SEALs, like Rangers, Green Berets, and then like as I read more, I was like, oh, it's like Delta and DevGru. And then as I read more, it was like, oh, it's this shadowy thing called Ground Branch for, CIA, SAD. But yeah, I've always thought, like, even talking to you and Joe Tedai a couple weeks ago, I just remember thinking, I wonder if there's something above that. And it's kind of what you just described. It's you're going out and it's plausible deniability. Dale who, hope you get back.
I mean, we infiltrated one night from New York in a G500 jet, G5 jet, in the middle of a desert unmarked airfield, landed in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night, got off, loaded the back of a C-130 that has ramp down, engines running. That was only 2 airplanes in this desert. Got on it, flew off again, and went into this place and unloaded. Had some tents waiting for us. Got all our weapons, which was all bought off the literally bought off the market. I mean, at the bazaar. I mean, old rusty bullshit, black market stuff. And bought it, and that's what we used, man, to go do this job. And jobs, actually, it was quite a few of them. And how cool is that? But it was that, there was nobody. I mean, nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew where I was, not even my wife. She thought I went off on a training mission somewhere. I'm just going to go train some guys. Nobody knew. Anybody knew. I mean, if I never came back, I'd have just disappeared off the face of the earth. Nobody would have known, unless I showed up on the news in a orange jumpsuit,
Yeah.
But that wasn't going to happen either, because I wasn't going to let nobody catch me.
Yeah.
So.
That's literally being like the shadow of a shadow. Have you ever read Black by Christopher Whitcomb? It's a book I read in high school and I love it. I recently read it again, I think last year. But it's about operations like that, and it kind of goes through the different tiers, and then one guy gets selected to do stuff like that. And it's like there is no formal, but it's like you go to like a tarmac at JFK, you get on like a business jet, you go to Qatar, and then you jump onto another jet, and then you switch names, and then you get there and you recognize like one guy from Delta, and it's just like, you guys are wearing turbans, and then you drop down into like a fishing boat and you insert here, and it's literally, here's some rusty weapons from the local, so there's no fingerprint. And he's like, it is the unspoken world. It is the truly plausible deniability. God damn it, Dale Comstock is Jason Bourne. You heard it here first. Dude, you got to write a book about that shit. American Badass was cool.
Well, I am. I'm actually writing this book, but I'm not going to make too much public, because
Obviously.
I'm actually saving this for a movie script.
Fuck yes.
It's going to be a pretty badass movie.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. So excited. Okay, tied to some of the questions above, are there really any differences? I'm sorry, that's just so fucking cool. You are the fucking American Badass. God damn it. Getting so excited. Okay, are there any real differences between Green Badgers and Blue Badgers in regards to that organization in terms of training and operation? I think he's referring to OGA. I don't know what any of this means. Is there any difference between Blue Badgers?
Yeah, everybody talks about Green and Blue Badgers. Green Badgers are contractors. Blue Badgers are staffers, right? Okay. So there's a difference. So one's on contract, one's their on permanent staff.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's actually a difference in responsibilities too. So
okay.
I'll leave it at
that. Okay. How is adapting to the unit difficult in particular? How does it compare to operating in an SMU? And did the selection? I think they're talking about OGA again. Did the selection process help ease the transition to that? I'm not sure if I'll just read the whole thing. For Dale, how is it adapting to that unit in particular? How does it compare to operating in an SMU? And did the selection process help ease the transition?
I'm gonna kind of guess at what they're trying to say. Man, once you make it through a certain point, once you make it as a Delta operator, everything's easy.
Yeah.
Basically, when I say it's easy, it's not that difficult. You have the confidence, you have the skill sets, you have the knowledge. Everything's easy. I mean, you don't have to go through any more selection. What other selection course could you possibly put me through?
Yeah.
Right? To test my mettle. What are you looking to test my heart? I mean, it's already been tested. Test my body. It's already been tested.
Yeah.
Test my will, my combat power, prowess. It's already been tested. Right. Yeah. My intellect. It's all been tested. Okay. You have to have a certain IQ.
Yeah.
Minimum IQ. Yeah. So I mean, I can go on all day. So once you make it to a certain point, you can. Man, the world is. It's open, man. I mean, you can do pretty much anything at that point.
Yeah, you can become Jason Bourne. Let's see. Well, he's got like 15 minutes left. I still got like 10 questions. Do you want to keep doing? Because I know you're on a time crunch.
Yeah, let's go about another 10 minutes.
Okay. I'll get through what I can, and then for everyone that didn't get their question answered, sorry. Maybe next time we'll throw them in. For young guys today who want to ideally do that for a career, What sort of background would get them in the door today? Same applies for young military officers, be it USMC, USASOC, or AFSOC, or NSW, and are most dudes former Tier 1 operators and officers like they say? So I think these are all referring to OGA.
Yeah, so there's no, I really probably shouldn't comment on that because I wouldn't know all the real criteria. I'll just put it this way: it always comes down to the man, okay? What you're made of and what you've proven, right? So, you can do anything you want if you're the right guy, okay? And irrespective of rank. Look, from the civilian world, I'll give you an example. I went to a hiring conference. A bunch of companies were there at this hotel for the weekend. Me and a bunch of other military guys were interviewing. We were all NCOs. What we didn't know was that next door was a room with all officers interviewing also with the same companies. And finally somebody goes, "Hey man, why are those guys over there and why are we over here?" And the host said, "Look," he goes, "because those guys are all officers, you guys are all NCOs." And we're like, "Yeah, so what?" And they go, "Well, because corporate America sees those officers, they see General Custer sitting over there with the butter bars on and pigtails, right? And and they're the leaders. And they look at you guys as, the technicians. You guys can turn wrenches." And so everybody took quite a bit of offense to that because of the 23 of us that were in the room, 4 of us had college degrees, and I was the only one with a master's degree, and had more combat experience, more troop leading experience than all those officers over there put together, hands down, right? So here's another thing that people believe. They believe that officers are leaders. Actually, officers are executive managers. The real leaders are non-commissioned officers, and that's the reality of it. But that's not how corporate America sees it. That's not how anybody else sees it. They see every officer as General Custard,
yeah,
and every NCO, and he lists the guy a sad sack, right?
Yeah.
Take orders. But so, my attitude was, well, whatever. I will get the job on my own merit. I don't have to be an officer. And sure enough, that's what ended up happening. I ended up getting a very high-level superintendent position, executive position with a company, a Fortune 250 company, way over all those officers. Not because, I was an officer, I was an NCO, but because I proved myself. My credentials spoke for me, and based on my merits and the way I presented myself, that got me through the door that I need to go through, right? So that's another example in the world where it doesn't matter. It doesn't always matter what you're wearing on your shoulder. Doesn't matter all the time what organization you came from. What really matters is who you are, right? I'm not defined. People define me as a Delta Force operator. That's what makes me who I am. Actually, that was one of many things I have been, right? That's my past. I was a Green Beret. I was alert. I was an 82nd. I'm a doctor. I got a master's degree. I can go all day long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was a professional boxer.
K9 trainer.
If I were K9 trainer, I can go on and on and on and on, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not defined by any one thing, okay? I'm basically defined by who am I today, and how do I present myself to you, and what can I do for you, And so that's what's important, right? So some of my coaching clients, I got a guy that I spoke with last night. He's like, "Man, I'd really like to be able to do more in life, but I just don't have your kind of experience." I go, "Well, you don't have to have my experience, okay? You just have to create your own experience." And, like in business, particularly in the business world, it's not what you know so much as who do you know? Do they like and respect you, right? Because you can find the skill sets, right? You can always develop that. And it's the same thing with, working for the government agencies and things like that. Yeah, you need skill sets, right? You need certain things. They're not going to just hire you because of your personality, and you're the prettiest girl in the bunch. They're gonna, you got to have something else to bring to the table, obviously. Yeah. But I can tell you, every guy that's been in organizations like that, there were guys who's like way skills level wise were way down here, and I was way up here.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because of the skills, man. It was because of up here, the mindset, the drive. Were they calculated risk takers? Could they think? There's a lot of other factors that go into what makes the guy the right guy and not necessarily the best guy, right? What makes you the right guy? Okay, you could be the best at everything and be a total turd.
Yeah.
Right. And so really, you could be the best goddamn shot, run faster than anybody,
But you're an asshole.
You're an asshole. Nobody likes you. Nobody can work with you.
Yeah.
We'll get at you.
And
right?
you're invaluable. You're worthless. Yeah.
Right. It comes down to the right guy. What makes you the right guy?
Sure.
Not necessarily the best guy. What makes you the right guy?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. All right, we've still got like 10 questions, and I know you got a call in a couple minutes. So, yeah. So I think we'll cap it at that.
Okay.
With that, and then we
can always pick this up some other time.
Yeah. And you still down to talk on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yep. About alternative conditioning. Yeah, we can touch on these. There's only a couple more left. But yeah. Dr. Dale Comstock, PhD, American Badass. Buy his fucking book. It's worth it. I promise. It's like I've said in every episode with you. It's fucking hilarious. It's there I was knee deep in it. No, it's there I was vomiting lobster. It's the 1,000-yard stare because I'm fucking like I have food poisoning. Yeah. It's fucking hilarious. And as always, it makes you more realistic. It compare myself like, okay, I can identify with that. Yesterday I had on Tony Tedeschi, a guy I work out with, who was a first responder on 9/11, and he said we're no Dale Comstocks, we're not. And I was just like, hey man, I guarantee you Dale would give you props, because I mean he was digging pieces of his friends out of the rubble, World Trade Center, and he was talking about how we're just ordinary men we're just in an extraordinary situation, and I said that's what Dale mentions in his book. Said some of the best guys he saw were, his Afghans in sandals. He said these guys, they'd have their dick in their hand in 1 minute, but he's like, when bullets started flying, you'd see these guys and you're like, they just stepped up to the plate. They became warriors. So, yeah. So give Tony a shout out for FDNY. Yeah.
All right, Tony, man.
Yeah.
I look forward to meeting you someday, brother.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, no, he loves you. I ain't no Dale Comstock, but I was like, fuck you, Dale would love you. Yeah. So tier one operators, Dale Comstock and Joe Tedeye. You do the plan to help get people prepared for selection. I'll link that. And
yeah, we do performance coaching, professional and personal performance coaching on tier one personal coaching and or performance coaching. And I do have a program on there just for getting guys ready for the selection process. In fact, I've got a couple guys right now that are preparing to go through the Q course, and another guy that wants to go through the Q course ultimately wants to go through selection. So I do have that program. I can help mentor you that, not just the physical fitness part, but the mental part. I won't give you the secrets of what you got to do every day, because that's what makes the secret. That's what makes the unit so unique. In fact, nobody really knows the secret. I don't even know the secret. I don't even know the times. Nobody knows the times except a couple guys on the very top, and that thing is like the best kept secret ever anywhere, man. And so it's there for a reason. Because they want to make sure they pick the right guy, right? Yeah. Because they want to pick the best guy that knows all the times in G2 there, right? Yeah. Of course he's the best. He made it, but he's not the right guy because he's a cheater. So, but I can definitely prepare you for it. And if you got the mettle and you have the heart and you have the drive, you really want it bad enough, then I can help you get there.
Fuck yeah, Dale Comstock. Thank you for your time, sir. As always. It's a pleasure, and it's hilarious. I love talking to you. It's always fucking great. It's fantastic. All right, Dale. Stay safe during coronavirus, and you and I will talk again on Sunday. I'll send you a link when this is up. I know that they're all going to appreciate it. Thank you, Dale.
Sure.
Peace.
Take care. Bye-bye.